Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Monday messages. I'm Rebecca and I use QTT personal development methods, coaching, mentoring, and homeopathy to help you and your family be as happy and as healthy as you can be and stay that way. So what are my Monday messages? Well, my Monday messages are to help set a focus for the coming week, so that you can make little daily positive changes that enable you to lead your best life. And me too, actually. So I am just going to wait a little bit to see, because I'm not sure, I'm a little bit late this morning, and I'm not sure about the internet. But if you are watching me and you can hear me, do give me a thumbs up. That would be really, really helpful. So today, what I wanted to focus on was teenagers. Not just teenagers, actually, but feelings and how we can manage those feelings as parents we can't manage them for them, but we can help support our teenagers and our children at the moment. And this is I see this as really precious time, because we're having to stay home with our families and with our partners, and that can be very challenging on a number of different levels. But I was kind of put to mind of this week's theme, if you like, by two things that happened to me. The first thing was that today I was meant to be flying out to the UK to see my lovely, gorgeous sisters and their children, so my nieces and my nephew. And I was meant to be attending a couple of memorials for people, dear friends who have recently passed. And of course, when I made the decision not to go, which was before Ryanair cancelled the flight, I knew it was the right thing to do. I knew that there was no question of that not being the case. It was the responsible thing to do, and it was the practical thing to do as well. And it didn't stop me feeling enormous disappointment and a little bit of anger, actually, about the fact that this was something not in my control. So that was one thing that triggered what I'd like to talk about today. And the other thing was listening to a mum on a call this week who was finding it very, very hard to deal with a particularly angry teenager. And he's not normally angry. He's just very angry at being cooped up, being housebound, not being able to see his mates, not being able to do what he normally does in his life, plus being concerned about what was going to happen in the future. How was he going to complete his studies, and do his leaving cert? What was going to happen about all the work that he'd already put in? Was he going to have to do another year? All of those things. He was really angry about it, and he was expressing it really quite aggressively, and towards his mum in particular. So we had a long consultation about how she could best manage that and what she could do to help her son come down from it, really, work through it. And so that put me in mind with, obviously she's not the only mum stuck with an angry teenager. There must be a lot of you out there. My own son is at home, and he's just been told that he, because he works for a restaurant, chefing, and he doesn't have a job anymore. So now I can see somebody's up there. Max, good morning, Max. I'm going to wave to you there. We're just talking about teens, which I'm sure, Mags, you can weigh in with, and how difficult it is to manage teenagers' emotions when you're kind of cooped up in a house like that. So it's something I'm familiar with. My own son is pretty cross about his life going on hold. So I just want to talk about how, as parents, we can help our children through this current situation, basically. And there's a number of things that we can do. And Mags is saying yes, as I knew you would. There's a number of things we can do to help our children. And the first thing, I think, is to just stop ourselves going into that kind of knee-jerk parental reaction, which is to fix it. It's to say, oh no, you don't want to be feeling like that, or feel like this instead, or this is what you can do to distract yourself. All of those things. We want to, our natural instinct is to take the pain away, to actually minimize what our children are feeling, sometimes to dismiss it, sometimes to, all in an attempt to try and make them feel better. And what that can be communicating sometimes to a teenager is, oh, okay, so what I'm feeling isn't normal, and what I'm feeling is out of proportion, and ultimately I should not be feeling like this. And that can lead to problems later on. I'm very mindful of not being scaremongery here, but I see a lot of people of varying ages in my practice who, when it comes down to it, are suffering from the results of not being able to express difficult or painful emotions. So if we can actually teach our teens and younger children that it's okay to feel whatever they're feeling, that we can give them a safe space to express it, and to really help them articulate it in a positive, constructive way, so that they don't have to go down the destructive way of expressing it. Now, sometimes that's not always possible because as a teen, obviously, we've got 1 foot in the child camp and 1 foot in the adult camp still. So even though it's tempting to look at this 6-foot boy and treat them as if they are fully formed adults, because a lot of times they think they are, they're not. And that often shows emotionally, because they are less able sometimes to articulate how they're feeling and make sense of it, and also have strategies in place to help them work through it. So our job as parents is still really as teachers, and emotional teachers are, some of the most valuable teachers that we can ever have. They'll be putting down the foundations for creating a fully formed adult that is in touch with how they're feeling, can recognise what they're feeling, why they're feeling it, and be able to articulate it and move through it so that it doesn't become a permanent state. And it does take a bit of practice if that's not your natural way of dealing with things. So this week, I just want to encourage you to, if you have a teen at home who is acting, out of character in any way, whether that's anger, whether that's being very, very anxious, and I should add that actually anger often sits on top of fear. And we've spoken a lot about fear over the last couple of weeks, and the importance of not feeding that fear and not staying in that fearful state so that it becomes an overriding emotion, because it's a very low energy state and it's not something we want to be staying in. So it is a balance. And if you can avoid that knee-jerk response, which is to fix it straight away, just park that, just put it to one side. You can come back to it at the end of the listening. Much more important that you're able to say to your child, okay, let's sit down. Tell me, what's going on? What are you feeling? If they're struggling to put it into words, often if you ask them to close their eyes and just say, well, okay, when you think about the feeling, where do you feel it in your body? And that can often enable them to just get in touch with it a bit and start articulating it. Because that's the important thing, is you want to enable your child to be able to express himself or herself. And just be there to listen to them and to hold space and say, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. This is a normal human response. I'm here to hold it for you and to help you to understand it, articulate it, and release it. And actually, often being able to talk to somebody, particularly a parent or somebody who's in a caring role, that in itself can enable us to release emotions and to move through them. So very important to practice just giving your child that time and that space to do that. And after you've enabled them to do that, then you can come in with whatever is appropriate to what they're feeling, whether that's practical support, whether that's, asking for help outside of the home. Sometimes that's appropriate. Working with somebody like me or some other kind of practitioner. Or it can just be, well, okay, if it's a case of having more structured distractions in place, then what can we do? What can we put in place on a daily basis that will help to support a teen from becoming totally immersed in something that's quite a low energy state? You will have suggestions, and actually this week I'm going to focus on finding useful things for teens in particular, because I think they often get forgotten in all of this, actually in lots of things. And we think that they're kind of coping because they're often keeping things in to themselves, or it comes out as something else. And we need to actually try and support them in working through emotions, just the same as we do. And Mags is saying, making so much sense, Rebecca. Oisin had been angry when he returned home from college last week, and it was difficult to readjust. And with the space a week and a bit later, he's so much better. Asking me last night, did I have a good day, Mum? Wow, fantastic, Mags. Yeah, really important, because we're all adjusting. And, we're doing our own adjusting. And actually that brings me on to the next point, which is really, really key. And that is, how do we show our children how we do emotions and how we cope with things? And it's very tempting again, and obviously this is kind of age appropriate, but it's important that our children witness that we have feelings too. They can be quite passionate on occasion, but they're not permanent states. We can put things in place that help us to get through the less comfortable emotions and come out the other side. And as I said, because we are still teachers to our children, and for them in particular is kind of monkey see, monkey do. So they are going to be responding to how you respond to things. And it's not always the best option to minimise it. It's not always great to just pretend that everything is wonderful. Of course, there are times when you do have to work a bit about that and just try and see the positive side rather than sinking into the negative. But it's a balance. And sometimes it's okay to just go, do you know what? Today is just shit. And, you know, I'm having a bad day. But don't worry, everybody. I will do X, Y, and Z. I will go and do my meditation. I will go and, you know, walk around the garden. I will go and bake bread or whatever it is. And I won't feel like this tomorrow. And that if your children witness that, they are learning that it's okay to feel these emotions. It's okay to express them. And at the end of it, they will still be loved and supported and cherished. And that is one of the most valuable lessons we can ever learn, I think, because it means that we know we're safe, we know we're loved. And when you're working on your own stuff, then it helps us as parents, I think, to be able to listen to what our children are telling us from a position of love and compassion rather than fear. So I would urge you that it's that old oxygen mask thing, which I know everyone's kind of sick of hearing, but it's so true. You know, we can't help anybody if we're stuck ourselves. We can't help our children on a plane put an oxygen mask on if we don't have our own oxygen mask on. We can't pour from an empty cup. All of those lovely expressions. Now more than ever, thanks for the heart, Max, now more than ever, we really need to look to our own stuff, you know, as a priority, because pretty much if we sort our own stuff out, then our kids will have a really good role model and they'll be able to do the same thing. And most importantly, you will be able to support them really, really well from that position of strength and acceptance of self, if you like. So that's what I want you to focus on this week, is practicing giving yourself and your family, but in particular your teens, the space to express messy emotions and to fully explore them before you come in and try and fix it. So practice that. I know it's hard, but it really will pay dividends. And if you do get stuck, or you have a sense that your child is struggling and you're not really able to make headway there, then, you know, do give me a call. You know, if you want to have a chat about how I can help, do go onto the website, and the address is in the post for this video, and you can register for a free call with me, and we can just talk about how I might be able to help either you or your teenager or younger kids. Doesn't matter, there's no barrier age-wise. So, and if you do have any tips at all for helping teenagers in particular, put them in the post below. Love to hear any suggestions, because you might well give somebody else a lot of help by putting forward anything that's worked for you. Also share your worries, your concerns. If you're comfortable doing that, do that in the thread below. Again, it could really help give insight to somebody. If you'd prefer to do that privately, then do private message me, or, yeah, as I say, register for that free chat. So I really hope that week 2 of our kind of semi-lockdown here in Ireland is not proving too challenging to you. And if you have those challenges, look upon them as opportunities. And during the week, I will post and share anything I find that will be beneficial, particularly to teenagers. So look out on this page for that. And there'll be a newsletter going out at the end of the week. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. And if there's any questions, please pop them up. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. It's a beautiful day outside, really, really sunny and nice here. Oh, thanks, Mags. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you're enjoying your time up there in Galway. And yeah, thanks for the heart. And take care of yourselves, everybody, and mind yourself. Don't forget yourself in all of the caring for the rest of your family. Okay, bye.